What's going on, guys? Matthew back again, this time for another political video. We're going to be discussing Ben Shapiro and how he's trying to sabotage Trump, and also how he's probably trying to cover up for Israel. Let's get into it.
You gotta be kidding.
Okay, so if you didn't see, recently Ben Shapiro asked for the pardoning of Derek Chauvin, who's a man who did not murder George Floyd, but also did not provide any medical assistance, but instead put his knee on either his neck or his upper back, whatever it is. I'd have to go back and look at it. But it was determined that by the person that did the autopsy that George Floyd did die from overdose. And if you watch the video, you'll see he starts to bleed from his nose. Now, I'm not a medical expert, but if somebody puts their knee on your upper back or neck, I don't believe you'll start bleeding from the nose like that. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. But the person that did the autopsy did say that it was an overdose. Now, in my opinion, it was police brutality. You had someone that was clearly cuffed behind his back and overdosing. He was then put on his stomach. And like I said previously, Derek Chauvin then put his knee on his upper back or neck area. You had three other police officers just standing there doing nothing. One of them was even making fun of George Floyd, telling the civilians that were there watching not to do drugs or this will happen to them. And I believe even at one point, one of the women tried to step toward Derek Chauvin, and he did like this and put his hand on his gun. So very unprofessional behavior by all four of those police officers. You need to, especially when the perpetrator is in your custody, you need to provide medical attention, do what you can to keep him from dying, since he is, in fact, in your custody. But here we have this video of Ben Shapiro coming out randomly 3 days ago saying that, and I believe this was on a Friday right before the weekend, so it could create even more headlines, saying that Trump should pardon Derek Chauvin on federal charges. This would obviously create havoc. We already saw what happened in 2020 when Derek Chauvin did this. The entire country was on fire, and that would most likely happen again. It would be a very dumb thing to do for Trump right now to pardon. But the biggest reason that I think Ben Shapiro is doing this right now is because there's a lot of pressure on Pam Bondi and Kash Patel to release the Epstein files. And according to, let me find his name one moment. Yes, according to Ian Carroll, who is an American investigative citizen journalist, and also according to Candace Owens, Epstein had ties to Israel. In fact, he worked for Israel. Candace Owens recently showed how, on the Theo Von podcast, how Epstein had different passports with different names, and it's very difficult to get that. And you would have to be pretty high up in the chain to have something like that done, to have different passports with different names. And it's your picture and everything, just a different first name on each passport, whether it's from Saudi Arabia, Israel, or America. And the theory is that Epstein was working for Israel to get blackmail on American senators, representatives, even presidents, so that way Israel can control America, and America would have to do whatever Israel wanted. So if you've always wondered why is it that we have no problem giving as much money as we want to Israel, I've always thought for a long time that it was just simply that America is a Christian country, which it is, and we have ties to Israel in that way. It's beginning to look more and more like Israel is the best at blackmail. First, I'll show you the video of Ben Shapiro calling for the release of Derek Chauvin. Let's go ahead and watch that.
There is one person that President Trump should pardon from federal charges forthwith. It would be incredibly controversial, but I think that it's absolutely necessary. That person is Derek Chauvin. President Trump should, in fact, pardon Derek Chauvin. He should. He should pardon him his federal charges. Derek Chauvin should, in fact, be pardoned on that. We will be covering that a lot more in coming weeks, because I think it is worthwhile to remember that there is a man who is
Okay, so he said that he's going to be covering that in the coming weeks. There's a lot of pressure right now with the Epstein files. If you're on Twitter, you can, even myself, every time I see a Kash Patel or Pam Bondi tweet, I always reply #Epstein files. And if you look at any of their tweets, all of the top replies are about the Epstein files, because both Pam Bondi and Kash Patel said that on day one they would release information about the Epstein files. And I think it's been like 3 weeks since they've had their power, and we haven't gotten anything. We gotten that bogus binder to those influencers that walked outside and took pictures. I did a video on that earlier, but other than that, we haven't gotten anything. And people are really doing a good job of applying that pressure and not letting people forget. Also, Jesse Waters on Fox News, from what I've seen, he's done a good job of continuously bringing up the Epstein files. I believe this is an effort from Ben Shapiro to create a news story that would cover up the Epstein file debacle. And I think it's because there are clear ties, maybe not clear ties, but there are suspected ties to Israel from Epstein. Okay, so he even goes as far as to have a pardonderek.com website. And if you watch Mark Dice, and if you don't, I highly recommend subscribing to Mark Dice. I'll put his name right here in his picture. Subscribe to Mark Dice. He did an excellent video on this earlier today, I believe, where he looked into this website and he saw that when you sign up for this pardonderek.com, it automatically signs you up for the Daily Wire newsletter, which helps Daily Wire. So this is clearly an effort to get Daily Wire's numbers up. And like I said, I believe the biggest motivation here for Ben Shapiro is to try to cover up this Epstein story because it's looking more and more like it's tied to Israel. Okay, so this is Ian Carroll. This is the investigative citizen journalist that I mentioned earlier. Let's listen to what he has to say to Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I think that because I mean, when you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was Israel. It was clearly like Ehud Barak was the ex-prime minister and the ex-head of Israeli intelligence. Leslie Wexner was one of the most powerful pro-Israeli philanthropists. The whole organization was Israel.
So
and I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
It was all an intelligence gathering and
it was targeting Americans. It was targeting American officials and the American president.
Right.
And the CIA does have interest in those targets too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had help from the CIA, and certainly they had help from these other organized crime and intelligence operations.
And I can't show a lot of this because I'll get a copyright strike and my video will be removed. So if you want to watch this clip where Ian Carroll is talking to Joe Rogan about Israel and its ties to Epstein, it's this video right here, Epstein's link to Israel and the rise of anti-Semitism, Joe Rogan and Ian Carroll. You can watch it right there. But now we're going to go to the Candace Owens interview with Theo Von, where they actually show the pictures of the different passports that Epstein had.
Even people who are pro-Zionist would deny that he was obviously Israeli-American intelligence. And he had weird passports. I mean, he had like a Saudi Arabian passport, an Israeli passport, an American passport.
Oh, he's perving then.
And yeah, and under different
That's
names,
the
by the way.
perv
He had
circuit,
working passports of these different countries with different.
There you go. So this one, Jeffrey Epstein. I know there's another one on here. If you look right here, if you can see my mouse, I'm kind of circling it. This one says Seymour Epstein. I believe this one also says Seymour Epstein.
Names.
It might show
You can't just get that. You know what I mean? You can't just get these passports without.
Right here. So that's his father's name. Never mind. But these are all different passports that he had. Look, travels to Africa and Middle East, which is very weird. There's clearly like international blackmail involved in this situation. And don't forget that when they went to Epstein Island after Epstein was arrested, and they opened up that weird little house that they have there, the first thing they saw was this large portrait of Bill Clinton dressed as a woman pointing. And, you know, there's conspiracies or theories that was basically saying, I know what you did. I'll try to find that picture for you.
Out being connected to the intelligence services. And it was never made clear why he was so rich. So who was giving him all that money? Was this like black ops, our tax dollars going to give him this illusion of wealth and power so that he would party with all of these billionaires? And yes, you're right. Blackmail operations happen all across the world. I think America, in terms of just how America has been seized, that's the only explanation for how Israel's able to expand with such a small population. And like, somebody has to be fighting their wars. Somebody has to be funding them. We're funding them. So I think we've just become like the piggy bank to them.
And again, I don't want to show too much of this. I don't want to get a copyright strike. But if you want to watch it for yourself, this is it's called Candace Owens This Past Weekend with Theo Von, number 566. And it's around the 49-minute mark where they talk about Epstein and they bring up those pictures of his passports and everything. But yeah, guys, that's my thoughts on the recent Ben Shapiro news regarding Derek Chauvin and how I think it's related to Epstein and everything. I think this is a complete effort to cover up that story. And so far, I think it's kind of working. People are definitely, I'm talking about it, but I'm trying to also keep the focus on Epstein Island because that should be the number one focus right now for everybody, considering the fact that many little girls were raped by terrible, terrible demon men on that island. But that should be everybody's focus right now. Derek Chauvin, I believe, is a piece of crap, and he should be in prison. He did not commit murder. So if that needs to be changed, it shouldn't be by pardon. I don't know if they can do a retrial. I'm not a lawyer, but the focus should be Epstein Island. Derek Chauvin did deserve prison time for what he did. That is not how a police officer should ever act. But those are my thoughts on everything regarding Ben Shapiro, Derek Chauvin, and how it relates to Epstein Island. Please leave a comment below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know if I missed a huge detail. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.